This is a short video from the ONS on the latest retail sales estimate for Great Britain in September 2011. For a transcript, email info@ons.gov.uk. The September 2011 month-on-month headline figures for all retail sales, including automotive fuel, show that between September 2011 and August 2011, the value of retail sales grew by 0.8%. This means that in September we spent more on retail goods than we did in August. However, this figure includes price movements which can either go up or down, and we estimate the price of goods within the retail sector to have increased by 0.7% between August and September. So when we remove the effects of increases in price, we find that over the same period, sales volumes, the actual amount we bought, increased by 0.6%, slightly less than the increase in sales values. Rather than look at the month-on-month increases, which can be volatile, if we now look at the changes comparing September 2011 with a year earlier, we see that the value of all retail sales increased by 5.4%. So compared to September 2010, we spent 5.4% more on retail goods a year later. But again, this number includes price movements, which since September 2010 have included a rise in the rate of VAT. Although this rise is not applied to every good we purchase, the estimated price change is also an increase of 4.8% on the year. When we remove the effects of price movements, we find that between September 2010 and September 2011, the volume of retail sales grew by 0.6%. So we are buying more retail goods compared to a year earlier, but because of price changes, spending even more on these goods. This month we will focus on sales of automotive fuel within Great Britain, which we think of as petrol sales. Firstly, we will bring up this chart and use an index. The black line shows an index of 100, and the year we are comparing to is 2008. What this means is, when the graph is below the black line, the sales were lower than in 2008, and if the graph is above, then sales are higher than in 2008. Looking firstly at sales volumes, which show the amount of petrol being bought within Great Britain, we see that it was pretty flat from around 2006 until the start of 2010. Sales volumes then fell sharply, and this is partly explained by the effect of the scrappage scheme that was introduced where people were allowed to trade in older cars for newer cars. The scheme came towards an end in the first quarter of 2010, and there was a rush to make use of the scheme along with the introduction of new car registrations. The effect was that changing cars for those that were more fuel efficient meant that there was a fall in sale volumes around the start of 2010. Sales volumes have remained fairly flat since this fall, and compared to 2008 we are purchasing around 10% less petrol. Now if we look at sales values, which is the amount we actually spend on petrol, we see another story. It rose between 2005 up to 2008, and then fell off a little before rising again. The reason that sales values have risen when sales volumes have been fairly stable is all down to price. For many people, using the car is a necessity, and so increases in price will not lead to a large fall in demand that may happen with some other retail products. The increase in fuel prices over the past few years has meant that while we are buying more or less the same amount since the start of 2010, we are spending far more on this fuel. Another thing we can do is compare the past 5 years, and we see that sales volumes have fallen around 10% over the past 5 years, but sales values have actually increased by around 32%. The effect of price can be seen on this chart here from the Department for Energy and Climate Change. Looking at the average price of unleaded and diesel since 2009, we see that unleaded petrol has increased by around 56% since 2009, from around 86 pence per litre at the start of 2009 to around £1.35 in September 2011. Diesel has also increased by around 41%, from 99 pence per litre to around £1.39 in September 2011.